let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, how you doing? This is Lil Dog. The reason why I was concerned about the Browns quarterback, because you guys got this quarterback that's from Miami. He ain't going to be the quarterback for the Browns. He's going to be another bust for our organization. He might fit another team. But I think, honestly, the Browns should go after Shedeur Sanders, honestly. If they lose the playoff and don't win the national title, the Browns will have a good shot at Shedeur Sanders. But I think, honestly, since his father has a pedigree here in Ohio, you need to go ahead and get Shedeur Sanders. He'll be protected, and he won't be so much distracted. He is a quarterback. That's a QB. Look at how he's leading the college right now. And then he would know what weapons the Browns will need.
So I always appreciate all of the voicemails. So, Quincy, let's get into that. Sanders, Cam Ward, if you're not picking number one overall, you're probably not getting Shedeur Sanders. He'll probably go number one. Quarterback's going to go number one. Who do you think's going number one overall?
I don't think it's going to be Shedeur. I don't think he's that knocked down of a prospect to where he goes number one overall. And it depends on who gets that number one overall pick, right? If the Las Vegas Raiders, who they've made their swan songs to, right? Like the Sanders family is openly recruited, like the ideal of going to the Raiders. Then yeah, they might draft Shedeur number one overall. But I don't think it's a lock that a quarterback's going to go number one overall. 5 quarterbacks went in last year's first round, so the demand for quarterback is simply not going to be what it was going to be last year because you got 5 teams of the quarterback eligible teams already off the market, right? Once you draft the quarterback that year after, you're off the market for. So that takes off 5 QB needy teams that might have looked at a quarterback this year that definitely aren't going to be looking at a quarterback this year. So there's not going to be the same need for quarterback that there was in last year's draft. So the jumping of price for a quarterback is not going to jump up to, I think, number one overall. I think a lot of these quarterbacks have different questions about them. These are guys who are good fits for maybe at the tail end of the top 10 or in the bottom part of the first round, but I don't think you're gonna see teams rush to draft Shedeur number one overall. I think that there's gonna be more hype around like Kelvin Banks, or like this is a year where like a left tackle or an edge rusher you might not have heard about a ton gets number one, number two overall. Because again, the teams that might be drafting these quarterbacks this year, they also have quarterbacks on the roster they're already committed to, right? So I don't know if a quarterback goes number one overall this year.
It'll be interesting to see. Just the Panthers, you figure, will probably draft one. How'd you like to be in the Jaguars' position? They just paid $57 million to Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to have a new head coach probably too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams that stink right now, they don't need quarterback, right? Like even the Panthers. I think they're going to really try to stick this thing out with Bryce Young. As much as I don't think it's an advice decision, I think they're going to try to stick this thing out with Bryce Young because that's somebody they thought was like a generational quarterback prospect at the time they selected him. And there's nobody in this class that makes you feel like if you felt that way about Bryce Young. Now, I'm going to be clear, I never felt that way about Bryce Young, but apparently the powers that be at Carolina did. I don't see anybody moving you off of that. So, like, yeah, Jacksonville might have like the number one overall pick this year, but they're not going to move off of Trevor Lawrence to get Shedeur Sanders. Like, I think the need for quarterbacks going to really dictate how many teams jump into that conversation. And really, when we're talking about quarterbacks going number one overall, they're either a unique prospect or the quality, the need for quarterback is so high that teams just feel pressure to take them super early.
Yeah, somebody's going to force it. Somebody is going to talk themselves into either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I'm with you. I don't think either one of them should go number one overall. I think somebody's going to talk themselves into it. Of those two, who do you like do you like either for the Browns, or who should be the Browns' next quarterback?
I like Shedeur. Like, there's something about, like, I think the level of competition scares me off of him, right? He's only played this well in the Big 12. The Big 12 is certainly not the power conference it used to be, and it's not what the Pac-12 was. And last year, he struggled mightily in the Pac-12 when he came against the better competition in that league. So that kind of scares me. The lack of athleticism with his play style kind of scares me off of him a little bit, but I do think that there's a chance there that he could be a franchise quarterback. The other guy in this class that I think there's a chance, if you're patient with, can be a franchise quarterback is Jalen Milroe. And it's really about the intangibles with him. I know he's like a great athlete, and that's amazing and all of that. But this is somebody that you're going to be betting on to develop. And the thing about Jalen Milroe is every year I've seen him in college, he's gotten better every single year. This is somebody who's played in 3 separate offenses at Alabama, had 3 offensive coordinators his 3 starting years at Alabama, and still has found a way to progress and get better every year. I think you drop that dude in a stable environment. He's shown that he is a top tier student. I think he's like the highest on Alabama in GPA, and he graduated super early. So like I trust that dude to learn, and then you look at his athletic profile, how fast he is, how great of an athlete he is. I think, hey, if there's somebody you're gonna bet on to develop, similar to like a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts, this guy gives you all the intangibles of somebody that's like, hey, that guy's probably gonna do the work, and have the work ethic and the mental fortitude to be a franchise quarterback, with the tools that he naturally brings to the table. I mean, I just saw this dude outrun LSU's entire defense after doing that to Georgia. So I think he's the best athlete in this draft class. He has a ways to go as a passer, but I don't think he has as far to go as some people think.
The other thing that, assuming there aren't significant coaching changes, a guy that will know a little bit about him is Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees was one of those offensive
Mhm.
coordinators for him.